Conflict is a disagreement between two or more people when one feels that their interests and concerns are being threatened. Conflicts can occur between anything or anyone. It happens all the time, everywhere, especially in the workplace, over people having different ideas or different points of view for something, and it causes tension between them and between the work that they're doing. Several different things can cause conflict. Changes in the workplace, people having different points of view and things that they see more important than others. They want to be in charge and they're not, or they feel like someone else should be in charge or step up, or they don't have resources that they need. And so their work gets delayed and put off. And a big one is different opinions. Like, the guy that you work with wants to do something one way and you want to do it the other, and it makes getting the work done hard and takes longer. While some conflicts are resolved right after they happen and people just agree and go their separate ways, some conflict is not resolved and it just keeps getting worse and worse over time. Especially if the two people, they don't want to listen to anyone. They just think that they're right and they're both sticking to their ideas. And when it escalates, there's ways to handle it before it escalates, before it gets to that point, before someone has to lose their job or take penalties. And managers should know how to control this so that it doesn't get to that point. Glossal's 9 stages of escalation. The first one is hardening, where the main conflict is objective issues. The second step is debate, where over superiority, like who has the most power, who doesn't. The third step is action over words. Self-image, proving one's mastery, proving that you're better, that you have what it takes. The fourth is images and coalitions, and the shift from focus on issues to personalization of the conflict, win or lose mentality. The fifth one is loss of face, restore own dignity, and you lose all trust for the opponent. You don't see them, you know that they're your opponent, they are your opponent, and you can't trust them. They're not going to do anything to help you. They're only worried about themselves, and so you have to do the same thing. The sixth is threat as a strategy, and you want to control your opponent. You want to know what they're going to do and what their next move is going to be, so that you can be prepared and have a way to come back at them and be stronger. The seventh is limited attempts to overthrow. You know that you may not be winning, and so you want to hurt the opponent more. You want to hit them where it hurts and where it'll get them down and where you might have a way of getting ahead. The eighth is fragmentation of the enemy, where winning is no longer possible. You know that you have no way to come back from it, that they're going to win no matter what, and so you just accept that. And the ninth is together in the abyss. You know that you're going to lose, and so you want to take them down with you. Even if it costs you in the process, you both want to go down. When conflict occurs, it is better to take charge and confront that person about it and sit down and say, hey, we're having a problem, let's work things out. Let's not get management involved. Let's not put our jobs at stake because of this disagreement. Let's figure it out like adults and get things handled. So that way, we won't get in trouble and bad things won't happen and it won't escalate to a point where we no longer can even talk to each other. Let's go ahead and get this done. And reducing the conflict then when it first starts, is a lot easier to do than a long time after it where you can't even look at each other. And so it's better to go ahead and take control of it right as soon as it happens, so that way it doesn't escalate to a point where you can't control it anymore. To solve a conflict, you first have to figure out what the conflict is. Where did it come from? What is it over? Who was involved? And then you have to figure out what type of way you want to solve the conflict. Collaborating is when both of the parties want to receive what they desire. It's regarded as the best approach to conflict management because both parties end up with what they want and nobody gets hurt in the process. Compromising is when both parties have to sacrifice something in order to put an end to the conflict. So, say you both want to be promoted, and you might have to put in more time, or you might have to give up extra vacation days in order to get that. And so you both have to sacrifice something, but you'll get it in the end. It's the best way to meet a quick or temporary solution, or to avoid it to get out of hand. Competing is when the party you're on shows a lot more concern for your own needs and none or very little for the other party's needs. You have the mentality that you want to win and you want them to lose. It's very cutthroat, very selfish. You only care about yourself. In this strategy, a lot of threats are brought up and made, and the loser usually retaliates because of them, and it gets ugly and out of hand. Accommodating is the complete opposite of competing. It is when your party shows more concern for what It's when your party shows very little concern for what they want and high concern for the other party's interests. It's the right one to use when you realize you were wrong and the other team is right, and you should make up for it and let them know that. Avoiding is when you pretend that nothing is happening. No conflict is going on. It's just when you do not care about anything. You don't care about yourself or about others or what happens. Professionals suggest that there are 4 different areas of skill development for managing conflict: listening, questioning, communicating non-verbally, and mediating. It's better to ask open rather than leading questions when you're mediating, showing that you really do care, that you're not just listening or you don't have to be there, that you are caring for them. Negotiation is when 2 or more people want something and they bargain with each other and make offers in order to come up with an agreement for it. There are 2 types of negotiation. Distributive is when one party loses and another party gains. So you lose something, but the other person gains it. So it's all within the 2 of you. No resources are from outside. It's just between the 2. And integrative is a win-win in which no party loses anything. It helps minimize grudges and it builds good and long relationships. When you negotiate, you want to seem strong and confident. You don't want to let the other person know that you're not really sure about what you're saying, or that you seem weak or scared, because they're going to realize that and they're going to attack, and they're going to know that they're going to be able to get what they want because you won't stand your ground. You want to look and see if the other person has weaknesses too, and use that as leverage. Anything that can help hinder them and bring them down, and so that you can go up. It helps to being an effective negotiator if you know your BATNA, or BATNA. B is for best, A is alternative, T is for 2, N is for negotiated, and A is agreement. Best alternative to negotiated agreement. An alternative dispute resolution is when someone else has to be brought in because it can't be solved just between the 2 or between the 2 parties. There are 3 different types of alternative dispute resolutions. A conciliation is when a third party comes in and builds a good relationship with both parties and gets them to open up and gets them to come together and see that it can be solved and help give them a satisfactory settlement. Mediation is when a third party comes in and plays the mediator. They suggest alternatives and they see each side's point of view and try to decide ways to bring them together, and so each party can win. Arbitration is when a third party is brought in that usually has the authority to oppose settlement for the parties. So they establish a way for the parties to get together, and they are usually legally binding. No matter where you go and where you work and what you do at your job, there's always going to be conflict. Whether it's with who you work with or the job that you're doing, there's always going to be problems with resources and relationships. But it's good for managers to understand that and take ways to improve their negotiation and conflict management skills so that they can be prepared and help resolve things so that more work can be done.